right, mountain is dry. We're ready to move on to the second one. And this is another point where this might be a little too light, but I really can't judge it right now because I don't have these elements in. So looking at this just by itself, it might not be exactly where I want it to be, but I don't know yet. So really get into the habit of letting things be until you get almost finished or finished, and then you can come back and reevaluate. This might end up looking perfect by the time we're finished. So let's move on to this mountain. This one we're going to do pretty much the same thing. It doesn't get quite as dark as this one. Remember, this element is something that we add later, so we're not even going to worry about any of that yet. The main thing that I want to do is this area here behind these bushes has this kind of glowy purple magic aura here going on. So I want to kind of imitate that and show you how to do that. The rest truly is just blotchy color. So of course we're going to start by wetting the area. And like here, remember that you can just kind of rub these little nicks out if you come into your mountain. And we are painting around the rooftop here and painting around our trees. And I know that can be a little difficult. Feel free to, if you're not comfortable with your bigger brush, what you can do is use your bigger brush to do the bigger areas. Come close to the edge of your bushes and house, so you get the area wet, and then take a smaller brush and just get a little closer. Don't worry about it too much. Even if you don't come all the way to these edges with water, you can do it with paint. So it's a little difficult to see anyway when you have just clean water. So just do the best you can, because you can rectify everything with a little paint, even if you don't get these perfectly wet. Remember, these are not, it's not quite as important that you have this perfectly wet as it was when we did the sky area. Okay, so once we have it wet, we're going to start the same way. I'm going to go into some of my phthalo turquoise that's mixed here with a little of the green gold. Watery. I'm just starting somewhere around the middle. Just going to start to dot in color. Maybe add some of my phthalo blue. Just let it mix and mingle, move all around. Now going into my mauve. That mauve can really make the colors intense. It's a really pretty color. It mixes so well with so many different things. And you can see how I'm not even worrying about hugging the areas around my bushes. I haven't really defined those. I'm just getting close, but I'm not really defining those edges yet. They're just not really that important right now. I can come back in with my smaller brush when I start to work on those. So I am going to drop down to a smaller brush now. I'm going into some phthalo here, and I'm going to start to define this area down here where we wanted to have some glow. So I'm getting a little lighter, going around these bushes. And now I'm going to grab some of my mauve. You can see how kind of light it is, watery. And I'm just going to paint in this area right around these bushes. And just kind of let that color flow up into where I added this blue. This tiny little area here as well is going to be. You could really use your teeny tiny brush. And do remember also, if you find this teeny tiny area a little too daunting, just don't draw it in. So in other words, you could have a tree that comes down to here with bushes behind it. Or take the bushes out and you would have a bigger space here just to paint this background. So there's always workarounds. Now while I'm doing that, some of this area is it's pushing up into the top of the mountain and it's starting to spread, giving me a better idea of how the color that it's going to dry. I'm just going to come back and refine some of my edges here with my small brush. Give some shape to these trees. Okay, and now we're ready to come up to the top here and start adding some of that pure green gold. So I think I'll drop down to just a slightly smaller brush. I have a 5 here. So I'm going to grab a little watery mixture of my green gold. Remember, not too much water because it will start to take over the world. I may not need to tilt on this one. I'm going to try it first without tilting. So I'm just dropping in some green gold. You can see how it really explodes into this wet paper. Goes exactly where it wants to go. Gonna add some elements, little surprises here in my foliage. Foliage. I always say that word wrong. I'm grabbing just different colors now, just kind of dotting them in. This is at that kind of at that velvety stage that we talked about, so you really kind of have to monitor where your paper is. This is permanent rose that I'm grabbing now. I'm just going to add a little to this mountaintop. This is where intuition really just takes over, and you just start making it up as you go along, truly. This is a tie-dye mountain. This area over here has started to dry already, so I'm not sure how much I want to mess with it. Might add a little color right into this corner and see, I can test here to see if any of this will spread in. It's spreading a little. But I think that I'm gonna let it be. Because remember, we're going to come back in and add some tree line back here. So for now, I think I'm gonna let this one be, let it dry, and see what happens. But this is probably the most tie-dye cool mountain I think I've ever made. So have fun with this one.